we're blessed to have everyone we're here with. If you don't mind, I'm going to say just a very, very short prayer in Arabic. And the prayer is Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadun Rasulullah. That specifically means there's no God but God, Muhammad is Prophet. Of course, that specifically doesn't actually, we're not just saying that to pertain religiously, but we're just saying that we're very blessed to have the food we're going to be having, to be with people who are teaching us, to be able to have independence, confidence, live the lives we want for the future. Thank you everyone for being here today.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fox. That was actually an incredible way to lead me into what I want to talk about, which is also very much talking about things societally. So just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Shafeka Hashash. I'm a master's student at NYU working on my degree in political economy. You can always count on Evelyn for the applause. But I'm going to briefly preface this by saying that my talk is going to have sort of a negative component to it, but that's of course only to lead into a positive ending. So I promise that part will come. But this idea that your inaccessibilities are your problem and you're alone, and yours alone, and your success is only based on yourself is completely false. When disabled people have to internalize this demand to overcome everything, we stop demanding social change, which is what we were built off of in the first place. The demand for society to end discrimination rather than curing us or having things be this medical individual thing. And then we as people have to shoulder this really exhausting and self-defeating superhero burden. And again, I'm not saying that ingenuity is not necessary at times, that it will not be lots of hard work. But it's also important that we not just work around inaccessibility, but we demand equal access and treatment so we can live an equal life. NFB was founded on the principles of disability rights, that it isn't vision loss which hinders us, but it's an inaccessible society. However, I think many times when we talk about independence, we sometimes forget that unfortunately, this inaccessible, unequal society is still there waiting for the new confident us. And that's a very unfortunate case, but that is something we can grow to change. So I want to talk very personally for a second. This is my 5th year at NYU. I'm very proud of my accomplishments there. I was a double major and I just graduated this past May, and I'm in a funded advanced master's program. That wasn't really the point of that, but
take it when you
know. That's right. But I've worked as an intern since I was 17. But for the last 5 months or so, I've been looking for employment post-grad. And I still do have a bit before graduation. I don't graduate till May. But at first, when I was looking for employment, had included blindness in my cover letters because of how much it's shaped my life, the things I've done with it, including anti-sub minimum wages. And that I thought to myself, if they don't want to hire me knowing I'm blind, I don't want to work there. Unfortunately, that ended up being very naive. So I very sadly and reluctantly had to remove it. And then suddenly you get interviews. And so I'm going to be very honest, the job market is statistically worse than it has ever been in history for any college graduate, sighted, blind, whatever it may be. But we all know that when someone, no matter what you tell them, we know those experiences when they just will not get past the fact that you are disabled. There's the woman in my experience who couldn't get past that I wouldn't be able to read handwriting, which was just a very minor task in case someone left notes, despite everything else that would be able to be performed. And there was the person that after an incredible interview, like truly an amazing interview, we walked out together and they said if I knew what street I was on, if I could cross in a lot of really great disability articles in conjunction with the Cornell Disability Institute, is Fred Schroeder of the NSA. So he talked a lot about his job hunting experiences, and they had a survey of 400 hiring managers and HR executives. 54% said few jobs could be performed by a blind person. 45% said accommodations were too expensive, which just so we're clear is illegal, but that's okay. 42% said they would need a person to help the disabled person. and 34% said it was more likely for a blind person to be injured. So this is why it's so important that when we talk about our successes and our failures, and how over 2/3 of blind people perfectly capable of working are not in the workforce, I want us to always keep in mind that we really are operating under a system that has failed us. For many people, it's failed them from the beginning, whether it was not allowing them to learn Braille. And thank God there are great things like the training centers for people to go back to. Or they weren't given accessible educational materials. For others, it's a system where you could have done everything you could conceive to have been right and you still end up struggling. And I promise I'm about to stop being negative right now. I just want people who are ever feeling down to not feel as though it's solely this personal issue, but there is absolutely a societal factor at play which holds us back. It's not pure coincidence that disabled people are one of the most educated minority groups and yet most underemployed. Now for the positive part, NFB is working, I think, harder than ever to modify this system by saying we reject the minimum wages. We absolutely reject inaccessible educational tools. Because as much confidence as we have in ourselves, until the impact stops being from individual to individual, the cycle is only going to be perpetuated for the future generations to come.
Right on.
So we know what it takes to live the life we want. It takes independence, it takes cane travel or Braille or JAWS, it takes training, but if we want everyone after us to live the life they want, it also takes this fundamental understanding that we need to work to change societal ways or protests or actions in order for us to really achieve equality. And this, in my opinion, the breaking down of these societal barriers from the very beginning is how we all, not just one of us, or not just those of us in this room, but future blind children and other disabled children come, can all live the life that we want.
Excellent.
Wow.